In this video, we will do some practice using the pen tool. So in this first example, we will use the pen tool to create the sand at the bottom side of this poster. To do that, I select the pen tool from the tools panel and I come over to the properties panel on the right. So I click on the fill color and I choose none. Then I click on the stroke and I choose this black color. Now I start drawing by creating curved lines all along this wave. So I click and release the mouse. Then I come over to this point and I click and drag to create a curve. Then I release the mouse. I move the pointer here and I click and drag until it fits the wave. Then I release the mouse, and as you see, when I click and drag to add an anchor point, two direction handles appears in both sides of the anchor point. The handle on the left controls the direction of the curve before the anchor point, and the handle on the right controls the direction of the curve after the anchor point. And I move the pointer here, and I click and drag to create a curve. I click and drag, I release the mouse, I click and drag, I release the mouse. So I continue like that to create curved lines all along this wave. Now I click and release the mouse. Then I move the pointer to this corner and I click to create a straight line. So to create a straight line, I click without dragging and I release the mouse. If you make a mistake, you can always in the menu above choose edit, then undo pen and redraw the last point. Now I come over all along to this corner. So I click to create a straight line and I release the mouse. And finally, I move the pointer over the first anchor point. When the little circle appears next to the pointer, I click and release the mouse to close the path. Now I select the selection tool from the tools panel and I come over to the properties panel. So I click on the fill color, then I choose this beige color. I click on the stroke color and I choose none. I have prepared in advance a shape that was created by drawing many dots, so it will give me the appearance of sand to the shape I have created. Now to deselect the shape, I choose select, deselect, then I click on this tab to open the other artwork, and now I click and drag over this shape to select it. Then I choose edit, cut, and I click on this tab to return back to this artwork. So to paste it, I choose edit, paste. I click and drag down and I release the mouse. And to finish, I come up to the menu above and I choose select, deselect. Now let's move to this artwork. So also using the pen tool, we'll draw this wagon for Santa Claus by tracing over its path. So to do that, I click on the pen tool to select it, and I come over to the properties panel, and I click on the fill color, then I choose none, and I click on the stroke, and I choose this black color. Now to zoom in, I select the zoom tool, and I click and drag across this wagon. I select the pen tool and I come over to this corner. So I start drawing by clicking to add a first anchor point and I release the mouse button. Then I move the pointer to the next corner and I click and I release the mouse to create a straight line. Now to create a curved line, I move the pointer to this point and I click and drag to create a curve. And notice that the more I drag, the more the curve the path has. And when it looks good, I release the mouse button. Now I have to split the direction of this handle to completely change the direction of this anchor, so I can follow the path to create the next curve. I press escape, then I press Alt key or optional mark, and I drag to split the handle, so I drag it down to define where the path has to go next. So to continue, I click on the last anchor point, then I move the pointer here and I click and drag, then I release the mouse button. I move the pointer to this corner and I click since it looks good. You can control the curve using only one handle, or you can use two handles. In this case, I used only the handle existing in the anchor point before the curve segment to control the curve. And to create the next curve, I will use the handle in the anchor point that I'm going to create after the curve segment. I move the pointer over the first anchor point, and when the little circle appears next to the pointer, I click and drag. And when it looks good, I release the mouse to close the path. Now I select the selection tool from the tools panel, and while the shape is still selected, I select the eyedropper tool from the tools panel, and I come over to this hat and I click on it to pick its color and give it to the shape I have created. Then I choose select, deselect to deselect the shape, and to see all of the content, I choose view, fit artboard in window.